So we're back. This should be the last video. It's getting late in the season and I've got one more Halloween-ish project I want to get to. So this is probably going to wrap it up for this project till next year. And I'm okay with that. I did some recording last night in the wee hours of the night. And I will insert those clips here and there. So this one's going to be a little choppy, sort of. I want to update you on where I am and what I've done since we last met. I folded all of my papers. I decided which papers I wanted to go where, in which signature, what I wanted for my cover, what I wanted for my center folds, because that's important to me. A lot of things got wet. Good thing it's a Halloween journal, because that's fine, but that, that's what happens. I didn't film that because it was painful to do. It would be painful to watch. My first thought was, I'm just going to do it random. I'm just going to put them in. And I thought, oh, I don't want coffee page next to coffee page next to coffee page. So then it became a thing. And then it got out of hand. So I didn't want to suffer you through that. Bad enough one of us had to suffer through it. But I have my 3 signatures ready to go. I have been experimenting with this cover. I've done a couple of things. I was thinking about putting that sewing pattern paper tissue over the whole thing, but I thought it might be too dark, and so I just did it on the corners, which is okay because it kind of looks like corner leathers. It's fine. It did what I wanted in that it knocked back everything. You couldn't see anything. So I'm glad I only did it on the corners, because I'm going to put corner covers on it anyway, and one more small layer is going to just protect those corners a little bit better anyway and help that metal corner fit a little bit better. So I'm glad I experimented there and not over the whole thing, because that would have been a mess. It was quite bright when it dried. Bright meaning all you saw really was the brown paper, and so I took a bit of just black and a little bit of brown acrylic paint, tiny little bit, and I'll use anything. This is the top of my Mod Podge. I just put it on here because my palette's soaking in the sink, and I put mostly water on, and I just put a glaze over that brown, put a whole bunch on and took some off, put a whole bunch on and took some off until it was kind of just leathery looking. And while I had that glaze out and ready, I took a light hand and a really light glaze and put that black glaze over. I think this is a really good one where you could see this is a good one where you can see here that I painted over it with black. It just knocked that one orange spot down, and I did that here and there. Here got hit. I did it over the dragonfly glaze too, because I had too much on there. I was a little heavy-handed with dragonfly glaze, so I just essentially, instead of whitewashing it, blackwashed it, just to take that down a notch. And it is better. It's better than it was. And if I still want to knock some of that super shiny dragonfly glaze back again, I can just add another glaze of black. Here too, you can see this one I didn't do, but this one I did. Leanne had a really good idea too. Stamp it with your favorite script stamp. And so I did. Of course, it doesn't stamp well because it's not even, but it did leave some cool little marks. However, archival ink is shiny, and you can see where the glaze hit, and you can see the ink is shiny. It just gives it another dimension. That's fine, but it didn't, the script stamp and the stamps weren't powerful enough. You can see it here to knock back that. The script is so fine, but it was a good idea. And because I did it in one place, I did it all over the place, just because you really can't even tell that it's there unless you look really close, and then there's like, ooh, creepy script, which is pretty cool. I'm good with it. I've been debating about doing this This is one of my little skeletons in the closet books. Quite a bit smaller. This is just a napkin that I Mod Podged onto it. And I'm thinking it's kind of a cop-out because I've already done it and I hate doing the same thing over and over again. But I feel like I'm running out of ideas and options for this. And I want to have it on the cover. I want something on the cover before I put this away. And all of my signature front pages are skeletons. Isn't that so cool? I think that's vintage by me. I think. Oh, I just love that. And a skeleton. And so why not have a skeleton on the front? And then I'll be done with that particular part of it. So I'm going to do that. You've probably seen this trick, but it was certainly a game changer, and it was new to me at one time. Pretty sure I saw Cat Hand do this. And I'm keeping, because one of the brilliant things about napkins is that if it's on a white background, the white just essentially disappears into almost nothing. Well, if I put a black skull on this black cover, I'm not going to have anything. So instead of taking that second layer off, which you see I've already started to do, I'm going to leave it on in hopes that it will help keep the skull more vibrant. And so I've got a water brush, and I just spit a little bit of water down here and got the bristles wet. And I want to keep as much of that spider web as I can. So I'm just going to take this wet brush around the image that I want. And then it just tears beautifully. And that torn edge is so easy to Mod Podge out into nothing. It just like feathers it out into nothing. And so there's not a hard edge on your image, which is brilliant. That's why I wet this top, even though I'm not cutting it out. I'm wetting it because I want a softer edge to that rather than a super hard edge. One of the, again, lots of really good comments, ideas, suggestions, and thoughts. Leanne said she really liked, well, let me back up. Amy said she really liked seeing the step-by-steps because that, you know, obviously you can play along and you could do the thing along with, or, you know, take down ideas for future projects. And Leanne said she really liked hearing the why of what I'm doing because it helps to understand how it works if you understand why somebody's doing something. And I couldn't agree more. When I'm taking a class or learning something, I want to know why something is happening, why we're doing this. If it doesn't make sense to me, my brain won't do it. Straight up. I know this is going to be a shock, but I was a ginormous pain in the ass to my instructors because if I didn't understand the why of it, I wasn't going to do it. I don't care what it was. This is that Apothecary 3-dimensional sticker that I was telling you about. Maybe something wicked this way comes up here and the Apothecary down here. Jean, if you're watching, these are the coolest stickers I've ever had the opportunity to play with. I love it. So it's coming apart. I don't know. I've never done it with 2-ply, so we'll see. I may have to figure out plan B for my cover anyway, but you know, that's how you learn. You learn as you go. This brush is wet. I was using it last night, and oh, Yanni, it's wet, but it's nasty. Hang on. I always wet my brushes before I use them, no matter what I'm doing, unless I'm doing a dry brush technique, which I was doing here the other day, because it makes them infinitely easier to clean them up after, and that means you get more life out of your brushes. I get all the water out. I don't want it wet. I just want the bristles to be moistened. It's kind of like adding a barrier so that glue and paint doesn't get up in there and stick super hard to those dry bristles. So I've got a nice moist brush. I've got my Mod Podge, and I need you, please, to cross your fingers and make sure that this works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But so you want lots and lots of glue down. And of course, having something over this will knock back that orange, right? Which is the whole point. Taking that down a notch. Is that almost enough? Okay, I want it not quite in the center. I want it down toward the bottom just a little bit. Let's see. Be very generous. You want your brush to slide over that napkin and work out from the center. Of course there's going to be wrinkles because there's wrinkles underneath it, so that's all right. And you can still see quite a bit of the napkin, which is okay. It dries back. If you remember putting the sewing paper over the book pages a couple days ago, yesterday, they're all running together again. I'm sorry. It looked pretty bright, but it dried back really nice. So I'm just going to feather that out. And since I'm putting Mod Podge right here, I'm going to put it all over the place because I want the sheen to match. I don't want my skeleton to be either shinier or more dull. I'm going to leave my little leather corners alone. One of the beauties of using homemade Mod Podge is you're not so precious with it because you've used cheap glue. You've made your own. It's way cheaper than, you know, using this much of the real stuff. So you're gonna not be afraid to use it. And because we've seen that my homemade Mod Podge does knock down the shine quite a bit, maybe it will be the answer to my dragonfly glaze over abundance super shine. So I'm gonna do the whole thing while I have it out, and while I'm doing it, I'm just gonna do the whole thing. That wasn't the plan, but here we go. One more layer of something will also make the cover a little bit stronger. So my experiment yesterday I don't think went very well. I was thinking I could record, super fast edit, upload, do a load of dishes, record, super fast edit, upload, do some laundry. And all of that is fine and dandy except for the super fast upload. There's no such thing. Uploading is just time consuming. So it didn't work out nearly as well. I was hoping to get 4 videos out yesterday. It didn't help that I've been having insomnia for a while. But some weeks it's worse than others, and I hadn't been sleeping. And after the virtual trick-or-treat kickoff, which by the way is still in full swing, if you're just joining us, go get your free digital freebie, your virtual trick-or-treat goodie from me and Carrie at Carrie's Mixed Media Art and Amy at Doki Doki Forest. We have all come together and created digital freebies. There's loads of freebies out there, like just truckloads of freebies. So the links are below to the videos. Please watch their videos so you can see what they've got going on. And go get your freebies. They're going to come down at midnight on the 31st. So get them now. That's the whole idea. There, I really like, I like having that all done. So I'm going to set that over here and let it dry. I picked out my corners. I'll probably just do them on the front. I took that beautiful piece of lace that I'll show you it before. It's from the coffee dyed lace that Christina at Christina Shack sent. I'll put a little video clip in here. I hit it with some of my darker, I have really dark coffee, strong instant coffee and a sprayer all the time, and I hit it with that. I even sprinkled some instant coffee crystals on it for dark spots, like right here's really dark, right here's really dark. It's where those coffee crystals were. And then I hit it with the Fun Sprays purple and green. So that's going to make wonderful tabs. Nice. I just cut it up into tab. They're all different because I want them all to be different shapes and sizes. I can either do long tabs or skinny tabs. That one's about square, so they're all about the same, but they're going to look like that. And then I took some of that gray material that I really like, and I cut that up into tabs too. So we're going to add those before this is over. Let's talk about papers while my cover is drying. So I showed you several times the kit that I made, and somewhere in this craft room I have a Ziploc bag full of Halloween images and ephemera that I've been collecting. I showed you some of the cutouts from my cut and collage books. My mom brought me some Halloween goodies the other day, and there were these little witches' feet were stuck in a cupcake. So I washed off all the icing and I took the toothpicks out, and I'm gonna use those. So I've been collecting Halloween ephemera left, right, and center. I also have some things that I collected last year from Artie Mays and Yvette Bohemian Crafting. Gave us some free digitals for Halloween last year. But I went through great pains I wanted some plain papers in here. And I'll show you the clip of my paper picking here. So we're going to take a little trip over here. I only need a couple extra pages for this. I probably have enough, but I want to use, this is my paper at the ready. All different kinds. I got my brights, avocado dyed, cabbage dyed, more avocado. This is all avocado dyed. Ooh. Lots of coffee dyed, but this is all different papers. Vintage graph paper, tissue paper, deli paper, all kinds of paper. This is another batch, but there's some yellow there, obviously, but it's a lot darker. It was a different batch, I think. But I'm digging back here for these dark brights. I think these would go good in my Halloween journal. I need one of these dark teals. This one? Look how yummy. And for sure. Is that the green or is that the yellow? That's the, oh, there's a brighter green. Yes. And I want to have 3 signatures in there, so I'm going to pick a third one. So there's one each. This kind of mulberry, or this kind of pink, kind of rosy, but it's not pink. And then, of course, these are all brights. Aren't they great for bright springtime, for my peony journal? These are dyed with food coloring. Some beautiful soft teal. Oh, yeah. Isn't that yummy? Some days I just sit in here and look at my paper. That's twisted, but true. So there, I picked out my 3. Now, this is what happens when you only work on a project once a year. I went into my Halloween thing that's been sitting here this whole time, but I thought all that was left in here was some little bits of ephemera that I had printed last year. However, and this pains me a great deal, all this means is I have either another Halloween journal in my future, some more pages that I made last year. These were misprints, so I have extra pages coming out my ears. You see, misprints. I thought he was fun on this neon green, so he can go in there. I had all my signatures, at least 2 signatures. I had them all. Look at this. This is a bright paper that I sprayed bleach on. Well, I coffee dyed it first. That's why they're so dark. And then I sprayed bleach on it. But these are more of those coffee dyed brights that I already hand picked last year. Look at that. It is a gorgeous deep violet, almost cobalt purple coffee dyed. It's fantastic. And this one, purple and green. And where it hit the oven racks, it turned a real dark, crusty green. Beautiful. I love it. Look at the back. And then just some plain coffee dyed. What's in this one that I totally forgot that I had? Oh, look, more pages. Nice. I love that trippy writing. That three-dimensional makes your eyes google. Look at all the pages. This was from Know It Arts. I was watching one of her videos and she had a painty paper and all I could see were the eyes here of the Amityville horror guy that killed his family. Yeah, his crazy eyes. I needed him in my journal. Some bats. My killer clown, the backgrounds. More of the things that I've already printed. This from My Porch Prints. Look at that, like Stephen King's Dark Half. On that vibrant, bright purple. Oh, it's fantastic. And this is a whole bunch of things. This has the creepy crow over a regular page, one of the filters. Bonus trick or treat gift number 2 over top of the digital. I love it. I love how that turned out. But now I have about 60 pages for my Halloween junk journal. Look at her. She has blood on her dress. I just think she's magnificent. I love her. Now what do I do? Holy K-Rap care. Well, since these aren't folded and ready to go, this will just be a Halloween project for next year. And I will put myself a giant note. Don't make any more pages because look at all this yummy stuff for next year. But that's the beauty of it. It comes back. I do have ephemera in here also, and I have a whole Ziploc bag of images that I've been collecting to use in my junk journal as well. All we're going to get to this year is making this journal, putting it together, and putting a few tabs on the pages. And that's as far as I'm going to get with it this year. This turned out really well. I'm very happy with how this turned out. You can't even tell that there's no dimension there. In fact, it almost feels like it's the same paper. And I found the book. I just wanted to show you. Here's one with a blue, kind of a blue background. Can you see how shiny that is? It's hitting that light. Versus this. The shine is not completely gone, but it's certainly knocked back. And if you look at it really close, I don't know, let's try this. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. The Mod Podge sort of added texture. There, you can see it. That's really cool. So there's still some shiny spots. If I wanted to, and if I had the time, I could just put another coat over it. And what you see there is shiny would be knocked back even further. Because what happens when you put the Mod Podge on a shiny page like that, it just sort of, it dissipates. Like when plastic gets wet, you know, the water beads up or separates or whatever. That's what the Mod Podge does. But once it dries, so then I could go back over it. But I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I think it turned out great. This did go back quite a bit, so you can really still, you can read the writing and still see the image. It's still very clear, but not as shiny, bright, fancy new. So, yeah, I already had all that stuff. I'm going to use these 3 in here. Just randomly. Yeah, just randomly. Look at me hyper pick. These, I wanted to just for interest, and I think it's such an interesting look. And when I start decorating these pages, I'll tear some of these off as well, depending on the design. So did I put one in every one? I did, but I didn't tear this one. I'm going to tear the best part off. I'm going to save that nice, yummy, burnt side almost. It's just where the coffee ended up staying. It's not really burnt, I don't think. It might be burnt. I don't know. There. So I haven't even dug out the Ziploc bag full of images and whatnot that I've cut out for Halloween for this project. I have enough to fill both of them. So I'm sure my cover is not dry yet. Let's put on a few tabs. So this is the way that they're gonna go into the journal, and I'm just gonna, I want them staggered, alternating, like such. And I think I'll put some up top too, just to have some interest up there. And for speed's sake, I think I'm just going to staple them on rather than having to wait for glue. You know, staples add a nice industrial feel. I can always put something over those stickers, or excuse me, over those staples. I can decorate those eventually if I feel the need. This is a huge one. If I put that on that skeleton, it's going to cover up the skeleton part. He's the best part of the page, so I'll be doing that. Yeah, I'm kind of janging up my pages, and that's okay, because by the end, this is going to be grungy, messy Marvin. That's the whole point. I think what might be easier is tacking this down beforehand and then stapling it, so I don't have to hold it so funky, but I didn't. So, but if you're going to try it, try that instead. Maybe it won't be as much of a righteous pain as this is being. That's better. This one's a little too far out, but I'm not going to redo that one. I'd rather have it, it's still too far in, but I'm not going to redo it again. And since I only have 2 for up here, I'm going to not do them at the top. I'll figure out something else to do at the top. Still pretty wet, so I'm just going to let it sit here and dry. I want to show you what else I did last night. And if that napkin, the reason I left it was because it had a beautiful spider web on it. If that doesn't disappear when it dries, I'll just feather it out with paint. It'll be fine. But I really like him. He's staying, and that's awesome. One of the other things I did last night off camera, because oh my god, what a pain in the arse it was to do. It wasn't pretty, but it turned out pretty cool. I'm just going to try and keep touching the corners, but I cut up that shirt and I put that skeleton face as the back. It's another reason why I wanted to use him on the front and skeletons on each of the fronts of the signatures, because of him. That's that shirt. And that's where I got the tabs, and the tabs have some of that print on it, so I wanted to make sure, just because it gives it more interest than plain. But that's what the inside looks like. I used Fabri-Tac around all the edges and Aleene's Turbo Tacky in the center, just because A, if one glue gives way, the other one will hold, and B, Aleene's is a lot cheaper than Fabri-Tac. And so Fabri-Tac has you know, the hard part around the edges, and then Aleene's is all the way through. And I see a lot of people smooth it out with their fingers, and I cannot stand to have stuff on my hands, which is so bizarre because I auto detail, I clean cars. Well, I have cleaned cars professionally for years. I don't do it so much anymore. For a long, long time, I was a hairdresser. Perm Solution hair color. Mousse, gel, yuck. And crafting. I've always been crafting, but I cannot stand to have that stuff on my hands, so I don't smooth anything out. I do it with the bottle top as best I can, but if it doesn't smooth out, I don't care. I'm going to have to lay this down a little bit when I can come back to it. But I'm really happy with how the insides turned out. And that's what he's going to look like. And so when you get to the back, I think he's wonderful. I just love that. So we're going to let this dry, and when we come back, I will put my signatures in and my corners on, and probably my apothecary stickers, a couple of these stickers, and then we'll call this one done for the year, and I'll give you a sneak peek of the next one, the autumnal witchy one.